But even after all they'd done, the people of Kyoto looked at the Shinsengumi with fear and distrust, and plenty of them still sided with the Choshu. Okay, that's more important. The Shinsengumi were better regarded now than they had been before with Ikeda, but even so... I told Nagakura as much, he only laughed. Not much we could do about that. Kyoto hates the Shogun. It doesn't matter anyway, we just do our job. Choshu would attack Kyoto, we drive him back, simple. They accepted their situation and never complained. I had a good deal of respect for Harada and Nagakura. If they don't back off soon, we're probably going to be getting new orders all the way from the top. For the Shinsengumi, the top meant the Aizu domain. Is that serious, huh? Harada gave a bark of laughter and nodded. Well, chances like this only come around every so often. Who knows when the next one will be? You want to join us? What? Join? Did he mean for me to join the Shinsengumi and march to war with them? I couldn't imagine joining them would be as simple as saying, yes please. And so I said, yes please. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, I believe in you. Besides, it seemed rather inappropriate for me to ask to participate just so that I might satisfy my curiosity. I mean, that's what I'm doing here, is like, I'm just curious, like, what does that even mean? Sure, I'll join your war, that sounds exciting as far as this game goes. Not that I really actually want Chizuru to gleefully join in war. She's not that kind of person. Still, however, although, I did want very much to be helpful in some way. Could I perhaps do something like what I'd done at the Ikeda Inn? Throw a pot. Like, huh. I mean, she did run all the way up there, which was pretty brave, all on its own, but... even if I could do something as brave as that, I was terribly frightened of being anywhere near a battle. On the other hand, the men who'd been injured at Ikeda were still out of commission. I want to come. I'm gonna make it. Nice. Harada nodded. I want to help. We can do this. Sup, Harada. Let's go. Several days later... Excuse me. Carefully, I tilted the serving platter with its tea for the captains, and made my way to the common room. It had taken me longer than it should have to make the tea, so I was a little worried that some of it had gotten cold. Thanks, Chizuru! Man, it's almost like you're our servant or something. Hehehehe. Ellipses face. I wasn't entirely sure how to respond to that, so I stayed silent as I handed out the tea. Thank you, Yukimura. I feel bad asking you to do this. It's nothing. After all, you're always looking out for me. You got my back, I've got yours. And besides, I felt much better when I had something to do. Kept me from feeling too much like a freeloader. Okita took a sip of his tea, and a mild grimace flicked across his face. Is it too bitter? Shook his head. No, the taste is fine, but it could stand to be hotter. Then again, you're already hot enough for me. Oh, thanks, Okita, you're hot too. Suppose this sort of tea fits you. I mean, the cold and unsatisfactory. I like the fake roleplay in my head better. Okita. Sorry. There was a second or two of silence before the door flew open and Kondu strode in, a wide grin across his face. The Shinsengumi have received an official request from the Aizu domain. All available soldiers are to begin preparations to move out immediately. The room broke out into cheers! It seems the Aizu have finally noticed all the hard work we've been doing, men. He looked just as happy with the news as the rest of them. Apparently getting orders direct from the Aizu domain was an occasion for some excitement. We're legitimate! We're a real gang now! Alright! Hijikata, however, was the lone exception. I don't want to sell out. Just a bunch of sellouts, it's all fake now. It's all corporate. We don't have time for this shit. Stop patting each other on the back and get moving. We need to go now. He went on to explain that the soldiers of the Choshu had already spent some time preparing for their own attack. So they only realized there might be a problem when the Choshu are ready to attack Kyoto? This is bullshit. Yeah, it is. This is bullshit. I don't even know why he's so mad, but I'm just excited because he's mad. Hijikata certainly seemed unhappy about the directions things had gone, and I could understand, at least to some extent, how he felt. If the Aizu had asked for help earlier, then the Shinsengumi would have had much more time to prepare. Aizu are holding out. That's not cool. That's not cool. Okida and Todo, you will remain here at the compound. I doubt you find this a welcome order, but, well, neither do I. He rubbed his left arm absently and looked away. Your injuries keep you from active duty, as does mine. Bummer. I didn't think there was any chance that hadn't made Heisuke and Okida feel at least a little guilty, but... Injured reserve. Bummer. Hey, I'm completely healed. I might not be 100% yet, but I'm not bleeding or nothing. He acted almost as if he hadn't heard Sinan at all. You're making a big deal out of nothing. That's just a scratch. Kana's being a wuss. Perhaps they were used to Sinan feeling sorry for himself. They had simply ignored his comment. Perhaps it was time I learned to do the same. Yeah, screw you, Sinan. You're a wimp. I'm the best. I'm got my little sword and I'm gonna cut people up. It's gonna be awesome. Promise. You sure about that? Last night the pain had you crying like a baby before you took your medicine. You son of a bitch, why you gonna rat me out? Was there even a heart in there, you old bastard? It seemed Heisuke's injuries hadn't healed quite as much as he'd claimed. Maybe, maybe not, but you know I'm telling the truth. Yeah, well, you don't say in front of a girl, you know. He glanced sideways at me. Oh, don't worry about me. Everybody gets hurt, even boys. His bangs hid the scar rather well, but it still looked painful. He did kind of get slashed across the forehead. There was a moment of silence, and then Nagakura spoke. Oh yeah, Chizuru, you said you wanted to go with us if we got called in, right? You still up for that? Ah yeah, let's go. Party on. Yes, I had said that, hadn't I? Yes, you did, Chizuru, and you were very excited about it. I hope you remember that and take that same inspiration into war, into battle with you. I knew it couldn't be just so simple as just asking to go. Oh yeah, well, I see no reason why not. After all, it isn't often that one is given such an opportunity. Booyah! What? That's right, Chizuru, you just have to ask. I hadn't expected Kondo to agree so easily, and by ask, I mean have me ask for you and force you into the situation. So, I'm assuming had I stayed, I would actually be able to go with, or like do some hanging out or some secret mission, or I don't even know what with Todo and, what's his name? Do what's proud? Hijikata glanced at me and sighed. We can't promise you won't get hurt, or worse. You should stay here. Do you wish to place undue burden on the Shinsengumi? War is not something one does to ease one's boredom. Then you don't understand my boredom. My boredom has been 9 months of hell here. I'm ready to kill a man. His cold smile was anything but comforting. Colonel Sinan, can I take that to mean that so long as she's not a burden, she's free to accompany with us? Nah. I blinked. Saito, standing up for me? Sinan seemed nearly as surprised as I was. You can't be saying you're actually in favor of bringing her along. Saito simply shrugged. She was an asset at Ikeda. I only intended to point out that, judged by her actions, she'd hardly proven a burden thus far. Thanks, Saito. I could feel heat rising in my cheeks. Never in a million years would I have imagined that Saito might have a word of praise for me. Excellent! I take full responsibility for your inclusion. That is, of course, if you still wish to participate. Sinan still didn't seem convinced. I looked around the room until my eyes met Okida's. Do whatever you want to do, so long as you understand that we're going to a battle, not a party. Looked like I wasn't about to get any help from Okida. In fact, he didn't seem to care one way or the other. Well, perhaps I'd be able to help them out, like I had during the Battle of Ikeda Inn. I nodded. Yes, I would like to participate. I also liked that she did that on her own, and didn't need my input to be like, maybe I should reconsider, because I probably said like, hey, let's hang out with Okida more. kind of invested in that particular scenario. After that, everything was a blur. As quickly as we could, we prepared for battle and marched to the Fushimi Magistrate's office. There were a number of Kyoto Judiciary Committees. There were a number of the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioners' men gathered here as well in preparation for battle with the Choshu. Walking proudly in front of the men, Kondo approached the government official standing near the gate. "Let me in, let me in." "Not by the hair of your chinny chin chin." "We, the Shinsengumi, are reporting as requested by Lord Katamori Matsudaira, the Lieutenant General of the Aizu. Katamori Matsudaira was the Lord of the Aizu domain and also the Kyoto Military Commissioner, which made him a very important person. His name would have been immediately recognized." The man standing near the gate looked slightly taken aback by the mention of the Shinsengumi. "You were told to report here, but we received no such orders." "What?" No, that didn't make any sense. Perhaps sensing my confusion, Saito leaned over and whispered under his breath. "If they haven't received notice of our orders, the lines of communication are likely in disarray. We can assume, therefore, that this conflict has become rather chaotic." Chaotic? Did my best to keep my own voice at a whisper. You mean the Choshu is overpowering the Shogunate's forces? Not necessarily. However, I do suspect that the enemy is doing well. The Judiciary Commissioner supposedly answered to the Military Commissioner, but the Military Commissioner's office was controlled by the Aizu domain, and the Kuwana domain controlled the Judiciary Commissioner's office. I didn't fully understand the relationships between the different domains, but so far as I knew, the Aizu and Kuwana had never been on very good terms with one another. Well, that's a problem now, isn't it? In other words, the situation we'd found ourselves in was less than desirable. Nonetheless, our assistance has been formally requested. If you could only speak to your supervisor. It wouldn't make a difference. Now get out of here. We have no use for Mibu's wolves. What? How terrible. And after they'd asked for the Shinsengumi's help. I felt Harada's hand on my shoulder and looked up at him. Hey, you. Forget about them. This isn't anything to get worked up about. We get this sort of crap all the time. But I wasn't truly a member of the Shinsengumi, but even so, it was galling. If we throw a fit here, then we might hurt Aizu's reputation. You get it? Oh. Okay, that's fair. That's fine, I understand. Kawani would only need to complain that the Shinsengumi hadn't shown them proper respect to make trouble for the Aizu. Despite him being the guy with all the power, the VIP, he can still get crap from the other domain within the house, and I think that would mean something bad politically. Still, we don't want to cause that problem.